They said the war was over, but for Lady Alira, it was just beginning. She stood in silence as the gates of Hanseong Palace opened before her. The rain soaked her white hanbok, and the soldiers didn't even bother to look her in the eyes. She was not a guest. She was not a bride. She was a prisoner dressed in silk. They had taken everything from her. Her home, her father, her little brother. Years ago, Hanseong's army had marched through Daeguk like fire through dry leaves. They burned her village to the ground. She had watched from the riverbank as her mother was struck down. She never forgot the sound. Now, they were offering peace. And peace, they said, would come with a wedding. A wedding between Prince Min-Jae of Hanseong and her. The carriage had barely stopped when she stepped out. The nobles whispered, "Is that her? She looks too calm. She looks like she could kill us in our sleep." They weren't wrong. Alira didn't speak. She only bowed politely. But in her sleeves she carried a small glass vial. Inside it, a poison that would stop a man's heart in 10 seconds. A wedding gift from her true empire. This marriage was not for peace. This marriage was a mission. She met the prince in the golden hall, Min-Jae, crowned with silver, dressed in blue. He looked tired, not cruel, not powerful, just tired. He didn't smile when he saw her. He only said, "So, you're the one." She nodded. "And you are." The days passed slowly. She was watched at every moment. Her food was tasted before she ate. Her maid reported her every movement to Ji-won, the prince's older sister, who clearly hated her. Still, Alira waited. She memorized the palace halls, learned the guard schedules, counted steps from her chamber to his. She studied Min-Jae's patterns, when he woke, when he trained, when he slept. But every time she stood outside his door at night, holding the vial, something stopped her. Then came the night she couldn't sleep. She walked through the palace garden under moonlight and found Min-Jae sitting, alone near the frozen koi pond. He didn't turn to her. He only said, "My brother died in Daeguk. Not in war. In peace. Trying to bring medicine to your villages." Alira's hands went cold. "I'm sorry," she whispered. He turned to look at her, then really look. "You're not the monster they say you are," he said. "I was sent to kill you," she replied, before she could stop herself. He didn't move. After a long silence, he said, "Then do it. If it ends the war, kill me." She shook her head. "No, I can't." And she threw the vial into the koi pond. The wedding happened 3 days later. She wore white. He wore blue. No one clapped. No one smiled. Except him. For the first time, he smiled. But peace doesn't last. 1 week after the wedding, Daeguk attacked again, this time at the Hanseong border. The treaty shattered. Min-Jae was ordered to ride to war. He came to her chamber in the middle of the night, blood already staining his armor. "They will not spare you if I die," he said. "I know." She held his hand. "So don't die." As dawn broke, Alira stood at the tower, watching the army ride out. She wasn't crying. Not yet. That night, Ji-won stormed into her room with guards. "You're a traitor. You're one of them." Alira didn't argue. She took off her wedding crown. She picked up a sword. She fled the palace. At the battlefront, the smoke was thicker than the air. Min-Jae was wounded, surrounded, and just when he was about to fall, a white figure appeared behind him. Alira, dressed in the white hanbok she had arrived in, holding the sword of Hanseong's fallen general. She stood between her husband and the enemy, the same empire that had sent her here to destroy him. "I am not yours," she said to the Daeguk general. "I am not theirs," she said to Hanseong. "I choose peace. I choose him." She fought that day like a storm. They say no one could touch her. When the dust settled, Min-Jae lived. Daeguk's army retreated, but the king of Hanseong had died from illness. Ji-won was arrested for trying to take the throne. The kingdom had no heir. Min-Jae was offered the crown, but he refused. He stood before the court and said, "The person who ended this war is not me. She stands beside me." Alira didn't move. She didn't want the crown, but she took it. Not for power, but because someone had to keep the peace alive. And so, the girl they called a traitor, the woman who came as a weapon, became the ruler of both empires. She stood on the palace balcony in a black and white hanbok, her crown simple in silver, watching the snow fall gently over the land she once swore to destroy. And she whispered, "Let it end here. No more fire. No more war. No more blood before the bride.